All right, welcome back to Tibalt's Apprentice. I am lucky enough to be again joined by Enrique.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
Thank you. And I just want to jump right in and pick up where we left off, which is with Commander. And
best format.
is it of all the formats, that's the one you would pick?
Yeah. Especially, for kitchen table purposes, you just Commander decks have personality.
Okay.
Like each deck is different in its own way, and it shows a piece of the player's personality, I think.
Okay.
And so it's fun that
Fair
way.
enough. Okay, I would go with the fact that also, arguably, it's affordable. Because you only need one copy. You're not going out getting play sets of everything, to go in the deck and stuff, and that could be tough. But, does that mean we're all civil? I mean, are we all suffering from multiple personalities then? Because I've got so many. Or is it just me with my 18 Commander decks?
No.
Or is it just what you're showing that? It's just me. That could very well be. So I guess before we get into today's topic, which is upgrading your deck, I want to go back to the other episode where you and I talked. And the thing was us talking about casual versus competitive.
Yes.
I played your Necrozar deck.
Mm-hmm.
I now understand what you mean about it being a casual deck. So I thought about this over the week or so since we last talked about it. And I thought, what's going to happen the next time Enrique plays his Necrozar deck? I piloted it. I know that it's casual. I'm going to kill you. So I said to myself, what am I going to do? Myself said, I'm going to kill him. So, and that's not a threat, not a vendetta. I'm not swearing anything up. But in my mind, I sat down and I thought about it, and I really did. So what happens when that commander comes out and I see that? As soon as it hits the table, I'm going to kill him. So, here's the thing. I thought about it harder. And if you will, that two on the nose, may not even show up. Anyhow, a light went off in my head. Your commander denies me my fundamental right of Magic of picking cards, being able to draw a card. You're attacking me on the basis of one of the things that is the absolute foundation of the game. And that's why I have that gut reaction to attack. And I'm not the only one. But for me, that was it. And I thought about it. It was an epiphany. And it's like, oh, I get what it is now. And so now that I've put a name to it, I don't feel like I need to do that. So I'm not just going to straight out attack him next time he plays Necrozar. Now, I can say that very confidently because I know the other half of the table will kill him for me, so I'm not worried about it. But I don't feel the need now, you know what I mean, to attack. Now that I've identified like what that is, I can, I don't know, I can move past it. Is that weird? Maybe it is. Maybe that's just me, but maybe that's just my personality.
I think I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, but see, here's the thing. Like I said, I had to play it, and I felt it. I understand, like I said. But, like I said, that gut reaction is just like, you're taking away my ability to draw cards. You're messing with something sacred.
No, I'm not trying to take away your card drawing.
You're letting me draw even more.
Yes, exactly. Like, the more cards you draw, the better.
The more pain I'm feeling. Anyhow, I just wanted to clear that. If you hadn't seen that or whatever, go back and check out the casual versus competitive. But we started talking, as we do, both before and after and during filming. So it got me thinking, when do you upgrade your commander decks?
Oh, see, I'm always looking for deck ideas, and so when a new expansion comes out, I'm totally going through the spoilers of of what can I pick out of that set to augment my decks with. And so sometimes it's with the release of an expansion.
Okay.
Especially as cards creep up in power.
Okay.
So, you know, I might pick a card here and there out of the expansion to boost my deck and, you know, maybe replace a card that kind of does the same thing, but, you know, the newer version might do it a little better.
Okay. That's
Or a little cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Though I'm not as meticulous, I don't set down every time a set comes up. And maybe I should, but for my way of approaching it is I make the decision like I'm going to go do everything. But we talked about this, and what really started me thinking about it was the fact that I mentioned to you or confessed to you, I have 2 boxes, 200 of the 550 count boxes that say upgrade on with 2 Ds. So I basically have 5 decks worth of commander cards to go into 18 different decks. And I haven't done that, obviously.
I just make separate decks.
I have. I've got such a Magic problem. I buy too many Magic cards, but that's it. So I've got those. I don't set down. So I do. When I do sit down, I'll go to that box and I'll set down and I will say, I'm going to do all of my decks. I do it all the way across the board. If I've made a change to one deck, I've probably made a change to at least 3 to 5 other decks at the same time.
Okay.
I'm not recommending that. That's not necessarily a good way to do it. It's just what I do. And when I sat down, I was lucky enough to get a, well, I call it a sorting box or whatever, but what local game store, another game store that I shop at, don't tell these guys. The other store that I go to sold me one of their one of the Ultra Pro display boxes.
Okay.
And so I've got that. So I can lay like 20 cards out in front of me, or 25 cards or whatever at one time, and have them all setting up so I can see them.
Nice.
And that helps me sort, So I'll go through the deck and I'll pull out everything by the type, the card type.
Okay.
So I'll strip the whole deck down to all of my enchantments, all of my lands, all of my creatures, all of my instants, and so on. And then, like you said, I'll look and see, does this card give me better value for anything that's already in there? And hopefully that way I don't get duplicates in there and stuff. I can see everything at one time, but that's the way I do it. But you do individual decks? How do you do that when you're making your choice? Do you say, I'm upgrading this one deck? Or do you look at the entire expansion, pick through and say, what?
So yeah, typically I'll, if I'm looking at the expansion, I'll, pick and choose the cards I think would be good for a particular deck.
Mm-hmm.
I especially keep an eye out for cards that can go into multiple decks. And
Okay.
so, like say for War of the Spark, there's one particular card that really stood out to me that can go into multiple decks, and that's a card called Karn's Bastion, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And so, really simple card, it's a land, and it either taps for colorless mana, or you can pay for generic and tap it and proliferate.
Right.
And so, you could put that into a variety of different decks, from +1/+1 counters to -1/-1 counter decks.
Poison?
To poison decks.
Poison?
Oh yes. Super Friends.
Right.
Would go perfect in that, and just the fact that you could slot it into just a variety of decks really easily. You just swap out a land for it. Just gives it high marks for me.
Okay. When I'll do that, usually though when I find a card that from an older set, that maybe that's when I look to buy multiples. So, for example, say Bubbling Muck, being able to get more out of your swamps.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, a significant portion of my 18 commander decks are black or have black in them. So therefore, I'll go on a tear and I'll buy, okay, I need 10 of these and 10 of these and 5 of these. But I'll find a card that does something specific, then buy it, then slot it into all the decks. So that's the one time when I will specifically go and just pull it out, as opposed to waiting for the new set to come out or whatever. You said you upgraded a deck, and this is what it occurs to me Also, then when we talked about Freyalise and my deck being good or improved,
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't stop to think about that, but I've made so many changes to that deck over time that I had intended to do a count to see how many rares were initially in there, and now how many rares I have in there. Though I did split the purpose, like I said, I split it between elves and elementals, and I probably lost a little bit. I probably could tighten it up and do more elves or whatever, but so the level of the deck is, I'll say, far beyond than what I initially got when I pulled it out of the box. But I'm still thinking in my head, it was the last box there. Nobody wanted this. Nobody loved her. I took her in and gave her home.
Yeah.
Anyhow, you've updated, though, which one? Your dragons?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the that was a deck that was given to me initially. Thanks, Josh. And so I got the deck, and immediately I thought, okay, how can I make this deck?
No.
You know.
Did you get that deck because it suited your personality, is what I'm guessing?
I think
that's what he said. I'm not sure when he what it was when he got that, but
yeah, I think maybe so.
I think so. I think he knows you like playing big creatures.
Oh yeah,
and
big
that was
fatty
maybe the draw.
boom-booms.
That was maybe the draw for you. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I like playing big fatty boom booms, and so I got that deck as a gift, and immediately I thought, okay, so what's better than big fatty boom booms? Cheap big fatty boom booms, and so immediately I thought, okay, like out of Magic's history, what can I do to either bring value to casting big fatty dragons,
right,
or how can I make them cheaper? And so, going towards Magic's past, and I actually put aside the upgrades to the deck. So I run the Dragon as the commander. Some people run Scion of the Dragon, which is another commander choice in here. I keep the Dragon as the commander because it cheapens your dragon.
Right.
It's just from the command zone, it cheapens the casting cost. Okay, so then I thought of Urza's Incubator as another card. So Urza's Incubator, when it comes into play, you choose a creature type. So
Wizards.
It would be dragons.
Oh, sorry, you're right, dragons.
So, creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less to cast. It's a 3 mana artifact. It's, for the cost of your typical mana rock,
right,
you've effectively cheapened the casting cost of all of the dragons in the deck,
right,
including your dragon. so that's one upgrade I put in. Another one was, of course, Unclaimed Territory.
right.
Choose dragons, and it makes whatever mana you need. Chromatic Lantern was a must, in a 5-color,
Sure. Especially in that environment, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And then also, just things that give you like incidental value for casting dragons. One was from M19, Dragon's Horde.
Right.
So you bring out a dragon, you put a counter on this, which lets you draw cards, which lets you cast more dragons.
Now you realize, of course, I'm not filming any of this. I'm just having you talk into the mic and give me ideas for the cards that I'm going to now put in my wizard.
Oh, there you go.
Just kidding. So.
Oh, yeah. And so, talking about incidental value, Teamer Ascendancy gives your creatures haste. And also, when you cast a big fatty boom boom of power 4 or greater, you draw a card. And then finally, probably my favorite card that I've included is Sunbird's Invocation.
Okay.
And so Sunbird's Invocation is an enchantment that didn't really get a lot of attention in Ixalan. But when I saw it, I bought a playset of it right away.
Okay.
Just because, I play a lot of Commander with you guys.
Sure.
And so just adding value to stuff that you're bringing out anyway.
Right.
It's the best. It's really the best. And so, for those of you who don't know, Sunbird's Invocation, 6 mana enchantment, so it's a little on the spendy side of things. But you're playing Commander.
You're playing Commander. Hopefully, you've gotten to that mid range. You've gotten to 6 or 10 lands.
Oh yeah, if you can stave off your opponents for a little bit and drop that down, yeah, you might become a target after that. Just gonna let you know. But basically, it reads, whenever you cast a spell, you reveal the top X cards equal to its converted mana cost. You choose one of those cards with a casting cost equal to or less than the original spell you cast, and you put it into play, or you cast it essentially. Without paying its mana cost. So, yeah, if I'm casting 6 mana, 7 mana dragons, chances are I'm going to get another
one
dragon
coming up pretty quick. Exactly, absolutely. That's so perfect. So when you go for strictly value throughout the deck, and a pretty good point that you made earlier is basically any of those cards can go into any deck, or they've got multiple uses in your deck.
Sunbirds, definitely. I mean, Chromatic Lantern.
Right.
Urza's Incubator and Unclaimed Territory if you're running a certain tribe.
Mm-hmm. Or, it just makes sense that you get those and you can go into just about anything. Mm-hmm. Nice. So, when do you rely on outside sources? Or do you always make the decision, look at everything, and sort through it yourself? My point is, or my question is, do you ever go to outside sources like EDH Rec? Do you look for different websites, or do you get advice from maybe other different YouTube channels? Or
all of the above.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I look at cards when they're coming out just to kind of assess, what decks would they go into. I'll look at EDH Rec just to get an idea of not only cards that have been included for particular commanders, but also just to look at the price guide of those cards.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain limits that I won't go past for particular decks. If it's not a competitive deck, I'm not going to spend $20 for a card.
Right.
I'm not inclined to do that.
Okay. So, when I go to EDH Rec, I'm generally going to actually find the cards that I didn't know about, hadn't thought about, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I'm not too worried because I at least can somewhat spot the ones that are useful that are coming out now. But I also want to go there for the cards that are forgotten, the ones that nobody else is using.
Yeah.
Maybe they're only used in 5,000 decks, and this one's used in 15. What else is in there? What else can I make work? So that's another reason why I go there. And of course, other YouTube channels and stuff. There's plenty of advice out there. So let me see. What else did I have here?
Yeah. So one thing, while you're looking through that list is one thing that EDH Rec really helps out is kind of deciding, harkening back to a previous talk we had was deciding the power level of your deck. And so for one particular deck that's currently under construction that I won't get into, well actually I guess I kind of have to get into it now, is it has 2 suggestions for the same kind of effect, but at different mana costs. And talking about power creep and how things kind of get better over time. So the 2 cards in particular were Migrum and Liliana's Caress.
Okay.
They both do the same thing, which means if an opponent discards a card, they lose 2 life, or they take 2 damage from the enchantment. The difference is Migrum costs 3 mana, and Liliana's Caress costs 2.
Right.
And so, because of that 1 mana difference, there's a price difference between those cards as well.
Okay.
And so, it just goes to show that that even though they do the same thing essentially, and Commander being the long range game that it is typically, especially in our play group or in our play group. It just goes to show that, this card, Liliana's Crest, is the more competitive card out of the two.
Gotcha.
Because it commands that higher
price on it. Okay. I won't ask you what your commander is, but the beauty of it is too that it almost doesn't even matter, because when it comes down to playing commander,
attack Enrique first.
That's just my personal philosophy. It doesn't always work out that way, but it very much, like you said, at the very beginning, it's very much about personality, and it's about what we play. And despite, again, going back to competitive versus casual, a lot of times it doesn't matter what the other person is playing, with the exception of a few specific commanders. And if we see that commander, then it's like, oh, forget this. I'm not playing my fun deck against this now. I'm playing something that I have a chance with. But yeah, for the most part, it's about you're pulling out and you're playing what you feel like or what you want to do. What I've had to change my ideas or philosophy for playing is though that we have limited time. It always comes down to having limited time, and I have to realize we're not going to get in 3 to 5 games. We're going to get 1, possibly 2. 3 on a really good night if somebody's totally overpowered or something like that happens. And like you said, that is your reason for letting somebody play something overpowered. Like, we'll get this out of the way and we can keep going from there. But any other final closing comments regarding upgrading your deck?
Let's see. Yeah, so thinking about deck upgrades, so we've already covered the power level aspect of it. Also, just the especially when you're talking about precons, because precons, from most of them at least, the precons kind of have a wide range of what they're trying to do. And so when you're creating upgrades or adding cards to upgrade the deck, you're focusing the deck, essentially. So you can decide to take out specific cards to swap in more focused cards as far as what you want to do. Going back to the Nekazar deck, what I've done from the precon of it. Well, first of all, the precon didn't have Nekazar as the spotlight commander for the deck. It was some god-awful vampire. And so I tried to make that commander work. I really did. And no, it stunk.
It just didn't want to work at it.
It didn't want to work. So I swapped out Nekazar, actually tossed that other vampire commander out. Because it just didn't work in the deck after making that change. And then I took out a lot of the counter spell stuff of the deck. I just wanted to wheel. And draw 2, take 2. I just wanted to focus on that. And it's, I made the swaps, but I didn't make it really competitive. I wanted to keep it more casual and fun. And everybody draw cards. And,
everybody take damage.
Take some damage for that.
And again, playing it, I get it. I see what it's like to be on the other side of it, even though I lost, but I was playing competitive, so that's fine. But yeah, I get that. When you strip those cards out, do you start with a set goal? Do you say, well, I'm going to take 5 cards out, I'm going to take 10 cards out and make this more competitive? Or do you just look at the general theme and say, this doesn't fit what I want to do, this doesn't fit what I want to do?
Yeah, so it's a combination of looking at the theme, looking at the cards I want to put into the deck, and then looking at the deck to see what cards can I take out. And so if cards in the deck don't fit the theme, they go out right away. If let's say I take out 5 cards and there's 6 cards I want to put into the deck, well, something else needs to come out. So then I'll either try to look for something that's similar to the card that I want to put in. Maybe it's a power creep thing, and it's just the better card to put in, or I take out the card that would allow me to create more focus by taking that one card out and putting it in the more focused
Right.
card.
Okay. Mine tends to be, I hate to call it more structured because I want to say that you've put a lot of thought into what you're putting in there, where I tend to be a little more random and freewheeling with it. But when I go in, I try, because I'm maybe not paying as much attention and that focus on it, I try to actually match mana cost or improve mana cost. When I look at it, I don't look at it as thinning it down to a specific laser pointed focus or even a blunt sword focus. Anyhow, I instead look and try not to get in my own way of throwing cards in just because I like what they do. And a lot of times, I mean, I do put in maybe a more expensive card here or there, but I try not to do that because I also feel that by the time we get the pre-constructed deck, you know, arguably they have their mana curve right, they have everything there, but like you said, they are generally less focused, want to do multiple things to appeal to a broader range of sales. I mean,
Right.
let's face it, that's what they're trying to do, is sell cards.
Yeah.
So I think though when I do it, I actually take into consideration the fact that I don't want things to go out of whack as far as that goes. So I'll actually factor in, okay, well this card also costs 4, this one costs 5. I'm going to stick with this one that's 4 that matches something I'm taking out. So I look at that when I do that and stuff. But at any rate, I think we covered yet another topic.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I think what we'll do then is, would you say that's competitive or casual?
Oh, okay. So I think this is a focused casual deck.
Focused casual. So a tuned deck.
So yeah, it's tuned somewhere in between casual and competitive.
Okay.
I think it leans more towards. I think it leans more towards.
Say it.
Casual.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it leans more towards casual because it's very. I mean, yes, it's single-minded in what it wants to do, but the combo isn't that strong. I think. Well, maybe if it were like 1v1 Magic, then yes, that it would be a strong deck. But in a 4-player environment, I think it leans more casual. You have more wipes to deal with.
Right.
Like if I have a wipe after I
I don't know who would do that.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's a wipe after I've tossed out my hand and all these beautiful dragons are flying around, it's devastating. It's like, it's sad. And so this deck, it's kind of glass cannony in that way.
Okay. I love glass cannon. That's one of my favorite. That should be one of my deck types, actually, is glass cannon, because that's what I play so many of. But interesting. Well, I was going to say, let's play, if we've got time here, let's play a Commander game between us and stuff. We may film that also. I have a Commander deck that I brought with me also, which I considered and was in the runner-up spot for, I guess, casual.
Oh, okay.
Worth the Raid Mother.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see what happens. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in and joining us.